check the database, and for example, in this position, the move queen to f3, aiming for the scholar's checkmate, is the second most popular move in this position. Can you believe that? This is ridiculous, ahead in popularity compared to some normal moves such as knight c3 or d3, etc. So it is crazy that so many tricksters are still trying to go for the scholar's checkmate and try to fool you in this, primitive stuff. So I've decided that we are going to stop it once and for all, and for that reason we're going to be brutal today. The goal is not just to stop this, but to make your opponent regret their decision to play it against you, make them suffer, make them feel really upset about this idea, so that they shift to some normal chess, okay? And if you're ready to be brutal today, let's go ahead and get started. You're probably aware of the scholar's checkmate, but just in case here's a quick overview. This arises from the first king's pawn move, pawn e4, and when you respond pawn to e5, there are different obnoxious moves that your opponent can play against you, such as either bishop c4 first, or bring their queen out to either h5, or maybe to f3, and from there they're aiming in both cases to this vulnerable square on f7. So we're going to talk about all those options and how you completely punish white for trying one of them. Okay, so let's say white goes queen h5, one of the common ways. Here, they're hoping to snatch this pawn e5 if you're careless. And if you defend it, they're playing their real stuff. Bishop to c4, aiming for the scholar's checkmate. Now and again, if you're careless and play something like knight f6, you got right into this scholar's checkmate, and that's definitely what you should avoid. Instead, white normally plays pawn g6, then white drops back their queen to f3, renewing the checkmate in front once again. And here, the right way is knight to f6. At this point, white is at the crossroad. They may keep playing aggressively, trying to beat you quickly within a couple moves with different little tricks. Or they may switch back to kind of normal chess, saying, okay, this didn't work out, but still I have this active queen along this file, and maybe I'm gonna play something like d3, bishop g5, put the spin, and just transition into a more normal chess attack. Again, in both cases, I'll show you really effective solutions. But let's start off with the most aggressive options of white. Those tricksters often will go for these most aggressive moves. One of them is pawn g4. White is relentless in their pursuit of the scholar's checkmate. They want to play g5, drive this knight away, and still play queen takes f7. What I did and then do in this case? Well, the first thing is, we don't really want to defend, because white's attack is unsound and we want to punish white, want to counterattack. Of course, you got to be careful, because, if somehow you move this knight away, indeed you get be checkmated. Therefore, you need to watch for this queen and where it can go. But basically, we do not want to defend, we want to counterattack. And you achieve that here with the move knight to d4. So instead of dealing with this threat, we start our counterattack. We attack the queen over here, as well as this pawn on c2, which is really bad for white, because from there, the knight is going to fork the king and the rook, which forces white's queen to go all the way back to d1 probably, and at this point you could just take this pawn on e4, but again, we're going to be brutal, so one pawn is not enough. We're going to play pawn d5, attacking this bishop, but also opening up our own bishop so that it can get involved into our attack with no additional time. And after pawn takes here, now the bishop comes out to g4, hitting the queen once again, and at this point white may regret their decision to try the scholar's checkmate against you, but now it is too late. What can they really do? They gotta counter their queen somehow. Doing this with a knight really doesn't work, because if knight to f3 check to the king and king f1 leads to a pretty nice checkmate delivered by just a bishop and a knight. So that's definitely not the solution for white, and usually they don't play this. Instead, let's take a couple moves back. Here they usually play pawn f3, hoping to gain a tempo by attacking your bishop. But you play another nice move, knight to e4. At first it may seem like there is some weird challenge to put as many minor pieces on the first rank as you can, but it's not the case. Knight e4 actually aims to continue your attack, okay? So first of all, they cannot take it, because then that'll expose their queen and you'll grab it. But what if they grab the bishop? In this case, wow, you play queen h4. That was actually the intent of moving your knight. So that clears the path for the queen. Now queen h4 checks the king. It has to go to f1 and then queen to f2. Rephrasing an ancient saying, those who use the scholar's checkmate will die by the scholar's checkmate. Another aggressive attempt of white in this critical position of the scholar's checkmate is to move queen to b3, kinda in style of white dancing around with their queen, desperately trying to get to this pawn on f7 and get in trouble. Most players here play queen to e7 trying to defend the pawn, but instead there is a move which is a lot more aggressive and of course a lot stronger. It actually wins the game right away. It's the move knight to d4. Once again we counterattack the queen with the same move knight to d4, and similarly the knight here hits the pawn at c2 as well, therefore the queen can't go far away anyway. Now, anyway, while we'll be happy to grab the pawn, because that's what was the aim of their last move, and the king goes to e7, now white's in trouble, actually, because the queen has to maintain the guard of this bishop. If not, it's going to be captured by the king, but also it's going to keep maintaining the guard of this pawn. The only normal move is queen to c4, but then you play b5 to drive this queen away, and in most cases they do play queen to c5, but actually white is lost anyway, and after a queen to c5, you could just take the bishop, but since we decided to be brutal and to make white suffer, I recommend the other move pawn d6. Instead of just grabbing the bishop, we're hunting for a bigger fish, want to grab the queen. Because notice that there aren't that many squares for the queen to go to. Also, if it goes away somewhere to, b4 or a3, you can always grab over here, deliver in, check to the king, and attacking the queen. Therefore, all the squares from c2 are basically unavailable for the queen. So let's take it back. That's why they're going to play queen to c3, at least trying to defend the pawn. And again, you could take the bishop, but we instead play knight takes c4. We keep the hunt off the queen. And, again, your knights, as well as the bishop from h3, control pretty much all the squares around. So they're going to play queen to d3. You still play knight c5. You keep attacking the queen. Looks like the variation is long, but basically we keep attacking the queen all the time, and therefore it's easy to find those moves. Queen goes to b4, c3 now. We go pawn b4, attacking it once again, and it still has to maintain the guard of these pawns. So queen c4 is forced. Now bishop a6. But keep chasing the queen. Queen d5 is the only square available. And then we lock the door with the move pawn to c6. And now, funnily enough, the queen is trapped in the middle of the board, right on d5. And I think that's a really great punishment for white, so that they realize that just dancing around with their queen in opening is a bad strategy, and so now we just win it. Besides these two aggressive options of white that we just analyzed, white can also shift the gear and try to go into a more normal chess with something like d3 or c3 or knight e2. And I recorded that video just not long ago where I covered all these variations and how you can beat white in that case. Therefore, I recommend that you check it out later. And for now, let me show you another version of the scholar's checkmate that often used by stronger opponents. At this position, instead of playing queen h5, which is a more beginner level attempt, many of the stronger level pawns will start off with the move bishop c4, pretending like they are playing normal chess. And then regardless of whether you play knight f6 or knight c6 or basically any other move, let's say knight to c6, they play queen to f3, hoping for a couple things. The first thing is that you could pre-move your next move, something like bishop c5, and then they'll just deliver this queen takes f7 checkmate. Also, their another hope is that after you, let's say, play knight f6, once again they can try to shift to a kind of more normal chess. They tried out this quick trap against you, didn't work out. They say, okay, let me try some normal chess now and a little bit postpone my attack. And so instead in this position they play something like pawn c3 to cover this square d4. They're aware of your knight aiming to this square, so they cover that. And as I said, stronger level opponents sometimes play that, aiming for, some d3 and bishop g5 in the future and develop their attack a little bit later. In this position, of course, usually people just play normal development chess, but our goal is to punish white, right? So we're going to play aggressively. And one of the common classical chess rules says that you got a counter strike in the center when your opponent plays some weird attack on the side. And we're going to do just that with the move pawn d5, which is another common attacking pattern here for black to start their counterattack. Well, it captures, and you can now recapture it now because this pawn is defended twice. Therefore, if you capture it, you just lose the knight. But if you instead counterattack with the move pawn e4, counterattack the queen to force it to move. And in most cases, white plays the wrong move, queen e3, but, we have really nice second game in any case. Let's say queen goes to e3, and now, again, instead of just taking the pawn, because in that case you lose this pawn on e4, he could instead move this knight to e5. Once again, you keep attacking with your aberrant move. This time we're attacking the bishop, and as it goes back, they usually play bishop to b3. Then your knight can happily land on d3, putting white's king in trouble, so we already managed to turn the table around, and now you are attacking the king as well as the bishop on c1. Therefore, they move their king to d1, but now you can bring out your bishop with a tempo, hitting the queen, as well as indirectly, hitting this pawn f2, so basically you are already winning. Now, after queen goes to g3, you could, of course, just play knight takes f2, winning this pawn, but instead there is a stronger move, and I want to challenge you to find it on your own. So let this be a puzzle of the date is black to play and win. What is another move besides knight takes f2 that can win the game for black? If you can find it, please write it down in the comments below. We've just analyzed the move pawn to c3, where you counter-strike with the move pawn d5, and then you unleash your attack against white. The second most popular option for white is playing pawn d3, opening up for the bishop to go there to g5, trying to continue putting pressure on you, but in this case the d4 square is available, so we happily land our knight there, forcing the queen to go back because it has to now defend also this weakness on c2. Therefore we push the queen all the way back to d1. Now we'll play our typical move pawn d5. If you can play, basically you're happy, you already got the initiative. Now, pawn takes, and there are different ways to go about this, but I recommend a simple approach just to take the pawn so that it don't, mess up with anything else. Just take it and your position is nice. Usually they're annoyed by your too strong knight, so they play pawn c3, and you move your knight back, and here, guess what they play? Yes, they once again play the same trick, queen to f3. They're trying for the same scores, checkmate twice within the same game. Insane. They're attacking the knight, hoping that you're gonna move it somewhere here, and then they'll play queen takes f7 checkmate. Of course, we aren't gonna do that. Instead, we're gonna play normal move bishop e6, defending the knight, then our position is perfectly fine. Then they play again a tricky move knight to h3. This time they're aiming for a knight to g5, and from here they're going to put more pressure on these weaknesses as well as on knight on d5 indirectly. So we started with the simple pawn to h6. Now they cannot find any attacking moves anymore, and therefore they just castle. Now, most players who play this as black play some normal developing moves, such as bishop to e7, and that is fine, but again, our goal is not just to play normal chess, right? We're going to be merciless and punish white for their wrong playing and opening, so we're going to play a bold move pawn to g5. Our goal is to play pawn g4, which is a double attack to the queen and the knight. And by the way, even if there is no queen there on f3, g4 traps the knight anyway because it has nowhere to go. Therefore, basically white is defenseless. They cannot do anything against the simple threat, and then we grab the knight. They do try their last trick, queen h5, which pins this pawn, and so they hope for some knight takes g5 stuff anyway. But again, you just gotta be careful, always watch over this queen and what white aims to do. So we do play knight f6 and kick it away. White is forced to go back now, and then we finally play pawn g4 anyway, and we reached our goal. The knight is trapped. While I can't trade off the bishops, doesn't change anything, the knight is still trapped. It may look like your king is a little bit exposed. That's not a problem, actually, because, we're gonna grab this knight, and white actually still has just a single queen in the game. They cannot possibly checkmate you with just a single queen. And your king is actually well surrounded by lots of defenders, right? So you aren't going to worry about that. Moreover, after you grab the knight over here, you're actually going to attack yourself along the g-file. So white's king is in much bigger trouble here, and you can always castle queenside on the next move.